Welcome to As The Pokéball Turns, where every trainer has a story. I'm David Hernandez.
I'm joined by OleJonnyOneBall. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Definitely. So before we get into the whole conversations and all the questions and all that stuff, how about you introduce yourself, tell people who you are, where you're from, and all that fun stuff?
Well, like he said, I am John, aka Old Johnny One Ball. I am a level 47 trainer, Team Valor in Denver, Colorado. I am not born and raised here, but moved here in high school with my family. But I am a Texas boy through and through.
So what is it like in Denver? Like, is it like a big city, medium size? Compared to Houston, how about
So
that?
it's much smaller than Houston. It's got a very suburban feel unless you are directly in the city. And as the city grows, things change, but it is pretty suburban. A lot of, apartment type things, homeowners, neighborhoods, things like that. It's pretty spread out. We also have a lot of open space that is not allowed to be built on. You'll see a lot of sort of blank space, grass, plains looking places. So it's really a mix. But when it becomes rural outside of the metro area, it is very rural.
Colorado is actually one of the top 5 places I want to visit because
Yeah,
I've heard y'all have not only, clean air, but just the mountains are nice. And I heard y'all have a very good view of the stars.
absolutely. Yes. Where I live now in the Lakewood area, which is sort of the southwest corner of Denver, we are very close to Golden, Colorado, and the mountains. There's not a whole lot of light pollution where I am. So even in my neighborhood, I can see the stars.
Dude, I'm so jealous.
Oh, yeah.
So in Dallas, they've really built up the area for people move here for whatever reason. I don't get why. But the places we could go to see stars, we have to go now like 3 hours just to have very little light pollution.
I actually spent most of my summers growing up and then all of my summers in college in Tyler, Texas. And
Really?
yeah. So I'm very familiar with the East Texas area as well as the Houston area.
Well, very cool. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. The question I always ask every one of my guests so far, how did your journey in Pokemon Go start?
I actually started playing the main series games when Red and Blue made it to America, and hearing that there was a mobile game coming that had some staying power that you could see from day one, I jumped in right away. And so playing Pokemon Go, I started with my wife. She doesn't play as much anymore, unfortunately, but I lived near a park with a stop, and I'd walk down from my townhouse and catch some Pokemon. It really has changed since then, but day one, 2016, your boy was there.
So what team did you choose?
I was Team Instinct because I thought it had the coolest logo. And then a couple years in, realizing that all my friends were on Team Valor and I couldn't get extra balls from raids, we couldn't hold gyms together. I switched over to Team Valor and I have been there for about half the time I've been playing Pokemon.
So what happened to like fighting the power, fighting the majority? Like at first I would have had respect for you. Like now I'm like, really, dude? No, I'm just joking.
Too much majority at that point. It was very red and blue around where I was, and not too many instinct players, and so I ended up swapping so that I could, get some coins every once in a while. I feel like it's elevated the community. JT, my co-host on our show, is Team Valor, and he and I would play more often than with anyone else. The community grew, and now it's, hey, everybody jump in, and it's all red for us.
I'm glad y'all kind of all can play on the same team. That's very nice.
Absolutely.
You talked about how you played Pokemon from day one. So you started with red, blue, and yellow, and I assume you transitioned through all the generations, or was there times like you just stopped playing at all?
I want to say during middle school, high school, when Black and White came out, I wasn't as into it. I was doing more organized sports. School was getting a little more difficult and required a little more focus. And so Black and White is really sort of the pause point for me. Right after Black and White 2, the next one after that, I jumped back in and started using my adult money because I had some at that point. I was able to get a Game Boy again, start playing the games I loved as a kid, and realized that kid me was right. Pokemon is dope.
It is. So I'm guessing after Black and White, so I'm assuming X and Y, was that the games?
Yep. Went hard into X and Y. JT actually, as roommates in college, went and bought the 2DS. We each got one. It fit our hands a little bit better, being bigger people, and it worked out.
So do you have like a favorite Pokemon out of the entire generation or favorites at all?
My number one favorite Pokemon of all time is Hitmonchan. The fighting type really stood out to me. I like the fact that if a Pokemon could have as simple a move as punch that thing, it would be Hitmonchan.
My favorite actually of the three are Hitmontop. I like the idea that he has 3 legs and he can spin on his head. That's just so cool in my opinion.
Yeah, the whole line is great.
Do you PvP at all?
I have started to do PvP more at the risk of all of my Stardust. My podcast partner, JT, is very into PvP and got me back into it. Please, when you speak with him, remind him that I, as the non PvP player, have the longest streak of the two of us at 37. I will say it's not my favorite part of the game, just based on it doesn't always work, and then you lose a lot and you get mad about it. So if anyone that's listening has battled me in any tournaments, I hope you like your 3 wins.
If it makes you feel better, I'm probably going to do that as the teaser for this episode. So he'll definitely hear this part.
Beautiful.
So you said PvP is not your favorite. So like, what is your favorite part about the game?
I love shiny hunting. Anytime there's a new thing, I often fail, as, the odds are what they are.
This is the opposite of the Hunger Games. The odds are not in our favor.
They are not in my favor. I also like to hunt hundos. Just click on everything you see and catch as much as you can. I mean, if it's a shiny, and you'll hope it's a hundo. I'm sitting at a whole 2 shundos, so I'm trying to grow that list.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
What are they? Do you remember?
Oh, absolutely. One is a fully maxed out Shundo Garchomp, and the other is a Skarmory.
Skarmory is one of my favorite bird Pokemon. That's sick.
Oh,
dude.
yeah. When I caught that Gibble and checked the IVs, I almost dropped my phone.
Was it a hatch or a catch?
I believe it was a research task during GoFest 2020.
I'll say that makes up for a little bit of what happened in 2020, in my opinion.
Minorly.
Just minorly, a little bit. So you go by OleJonnyOneBall. How did you get the nickname?
My standard speech patterns don't always mesh with what the world says, and I like to make jokes at my own expense. I started with a ridiculous catch streak of 1 ball. Whether it was a wild catch or a legendary, that just seems to be something that follows me around. And so out of nowhere, we were playing and, caught X amount in a row in the first ball and said, oh, yeah, there's OleJonnyOneBall coming in clutch. And it kind of stuck. I ended up naming myself OleJonnyOneBall for the solo reason of the catch streak.
I wanted to follow up on something I heard. So I heard that back when you were younger, your mom used to ground you from Pokemon because you played it so much. Was that true?
It wasn't just playing. It was all sorts of Pokemon. So coming home from school, off the bus, turn on Pokemon, it's on at 4. Collect as many cards as I can with, I don't know where I got the money from. It might have been allowance or depending on which parent takes you to the store. So cards on cards and games and playing. My grades didn't really slip. It was elementary school, so grades are not terribly hard to come by at that time in life. But it was definitely getting in the way of coming home, completing my homework, wanting to hang out with the family, board games with the crew, and things like that. And so eventually she locked up my Pokemon cards and said, you can't watch Pokemon until you finish your homework. But at that point, Pokemon was over.
It sounds like your mom was a bit of an enforcer. So was your dad kind of the one who kind of slipped you some cards, perhaps?
It really depends on the time you catch them. It's like, go ask your dad, go ask your mom. Mom told me to ask you. It was he said, she said. But it really just depends on, which parent you caught at the right time or who was at the store with you and how expensive was the little blister pack and things like that.
Obviously, you're from Denver, Colorado. And I imagine Colorado's nice about 8 months of the year. But I imagine y'all's winter is probably a different story, right?
So it really depends. When it gets cold enough to snow, the ground is usually a bit warm still, so it does melt. And then depending on where you live, the snowplows will take care of you. It usually snows at night and then early morning. By the time you're about headed out for work, it's melted. So it's the slush you have to worry about. But for the most part, between the plows and the sun, it's not terrible.
You're really making me second guess why I decided to stay in Dallas because so my thought, and this is like my thought of what Denver would have been like, that y'all are like snowed in for like 2 to 3 months out of the year. And now when you tell me
no. every 10, 15 years or so, there's enough for a snow in. I don't think through high school. I spent 2 years in school here in high school. I don't think we had a snow day. I
need to move to Denver. Shit.
Yeah, it's definitely not as bad as you might think. It's not the Northeast where it's just blowing snow often and you can't.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
open.
Denver was like.
No, it's mostly sunshine here, even when it's snowing.
I learned something new today. You blew my mind. So, when it does snow, like, does that affect your gameplay at all, playing Pokemon Go, or do y'all still try to play outside when it's cold and snowing?
We do because we enjoy the cold. I would say the coldest it is on a standard year during the day and time to play is, the teens. So it's not terribly like freezing cold. Throw on some fingerless gloves and party on. There are times when it is far too cold to be outside, and that is the hot chocolate and movie day.
So we do driving here in summer. Like, y'all don't do that when it's cold up there, like that cold?
Ah, yes,
Is
Pokemon Drive.
Pokemon Drive. So
Yes.
do y'all do that on the opposite end to where it's too cold, or do y'all just not risk it, or what is that?
So it really depends. It's more of go to a destination where there are stops and play from the car there. Just because you don't want to risk anything, even in like parking lots, just sort of slow cruising can be pretty rough. You can see who's the first timers if the snow hits well enough. You'll see somebody popped up on a curb. You're like, I can make this hill. It's normal. No. And then you get
And then it just
stuck in the
slides
snow.
in.
Yeah. A lot of sliding. So you just take it slow and be careful. It's more Pokemon Drive to somewhere and play while you sit in the warm car.
So if you're listening in Texas, people, this is how you drive in snow. You don't try to go 60 miles and spiral around. This is You're
Nope.
hearing from a professional yourself.
The four-wheel drive is great for going, but once you're stopping, tires are tires. And you better plan ahead on that one.
Have you had any chance to go to any Niantic events or any Go Fest or Safari Zones?
Yes, so JT and I joined in with some other people from shows that we knew at the time and got an Airbnb for Go Fest in Seattle this year.
This was your first one?
Yes, it was our first one. We've always done the local ones that you can go to, the worldwide, but we haven't traveled anywhere. We actually had not an official Roundtable Chatot meetup, but we were able to get some people together, meet some people from our Discord that we didn't know. So that was our first and only foray into the larger travel type events. Finding the location and being able to join in with groups from other shows that were planning and welcoming to us. We were able to partner with the Lured Up podcast and the Pokemon Professor Network to do things like the Airbnb and join in those type of things and really jump into actually knowing each other in real life. It was very cool.
I looked at just photos when I first posted them, and it looked like both you and JT were just having such a good time the entire time, meeting all the creators and meeting all the people.
Yeah, we were having a blast. And it was cool to see, people that we had sort of known, but really were able to, hang out the whole weekend and meet new people and meet their friends. And, it became this even bigger circle than it already was. We were at the park every day just because we're all hanging out.
If somebody was ever on the fence about going to like a Go Fest, a Safari Zone, or whatever have you, what would you tell them?
First of all, make sure that your money is saved correctly. We ended up spending a little bit more than we thought just based on travel, and Ubers were expensive. You could take an Uber across the street and it's $12. But if you have those things in order, or if that's not an issue, absolutely go. Get your PTO, take your time off. Go enjoy being outside with all your friends and, catching some things that end up becoming some solid trade bait. Because I am sitting on about half a dozen shiny cowboy hat Snorlaxes that might need new homes. There are even small things like when we were walking into the PvP battle stadium and there's trainer music playing over the local system. And you just feel like a trainer walking into a gym battle. Nobody is like, oh, what are those people doing? Why are there so many people here? It is clearly Pokemon, and the people that are there want to play with you.
Going back to the stadium real quick, 'cause I know that kind of was a little hidden away, but when I went to the stadium and you heard the music, it reminded me of that time in the anime where Ash was walking to the stadium the very first time, and he saw the battlefield. I felt like I was almost Ash in the anime. Like, Niantic did a very good job trying to bring something that you normally see in the anime to real life. And that's just the power of not only Pokemon Go, but just AR gaming in general.
We were actually at the battle stadium all 3 days. Friends wanted to go battle and do all that sort of stuff. Plus to be able to see people who were big in the PvP world. It was just a, like, no way, those people are real kind of moment. It was just a very cool experience. I think that was probably one of those like little things that really pushes a thing like Go Fest over the top. I mean, the city of Seattle had Pokemon trainer music, and there was a, thank you for visiting Seattle. We are, we're taking you to here. Join us, Pokemon trainers. And it was like the actual, like, did you ride the monorail there?
I did. I remember I heard that. I forgot all about that until you said that.
Yeah, like those little things, like the city getting involved and bringing the music and the welcome into the monorail. It's a completely different experience. So listeners, if you are on the fence and you've got your things in order and you just aren't sure if you really want to go, I highly recommend going.
And if it's in Seattle again, you might have a chance of meeting Richard Sherman.
It's true. Richard Sherman was just there battling. That was very cool.
So you've talked about JT, your co-host, a lot. Can you tell us a story about like how y'all met?
Yeah, so we actually met in college at Colorado Christian University. I was transferring in because I had a friend that went there. We lived in the same apartment in college by luck. And then as we moved on and moved off campus to finish out school, we got an apartment with a bunch of other guys and went to school and came and hung out and partied hard, I guess. We like to match the stupidity. If you listen to the shows, you will hear the stupidity. We are like that normally. That's not a show. We matched stupids pretty quick there, and as we lived together for longer times, found out, oh, he likes Pokemon. Wait, I like Pokemon. Yo, let's go get Game Boys and play the new X and Y games. And we did, and they were great. So it was just sort of a entertainment haven for us where we were allowed to just go play Pokemon and be stupid without anybody judging us too much.
And y'all are still friends even to this day, and y'all started a podcast together. Speaking of which, so let's go ahead and transition to the start of the podcast. So, what made y'all want to start a podcast?
I had been listening to what is currently the bonus episodes podcast, previously Pokemon GO Radio. They are twins, so they have the same match the stupid as each other kind of vibe. And then it turns out they actually are not far from where I'm from in Houston. That was a cool thing, and we actually got to meet them on the last day of Go Fest. The springboard was the Pokemon GO Radio podcast that I was listening to. I was like, dude, you got to listen to this. They are stupid like us. He wasn't terribly into podcasts at that point. Not long before they transitioned out of strictly Pokemon GO Radio into their current bonus episode show, we were like, yo, dude, we could totally do this. We just need some microphones. You know the scene from Step Brothers? Do we just become best friends?
Yes, yep. That's what I just thought of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how we started the show. Do you want to do a podcast? Yep, let's go do a podcast. Okay. And so that's just how it started. If you have listened to our show, the episode 0, what we call it, is us sitting around an iPad that we thought would record well enough in a room that wasn't soundproofed at all. We quickly realized we need some microphones and some foam. It's just been growing. We went from microphones on stands on the desk to arms so we can free it up. We've got the studio we have built down here in my basement now. We've got a board that we use for our notes. It's mostly a skeleton show. We come up with the topic of what we're talking about, and then we just go. We like Pokemon and being dumb, and maybe other people will like Pokemon and listening to us be dumb. We say a line toward the end of our shows each week. We don't care if you think it's stupid. We care if you think it's shoddy. And we stole that from Pokemon GO Radio. So we want to make sure that while we are being as dumb as we actually are, the quality of the show and the entertainment value of the show is good for the people, that you don't think it's a poorly put together type show.
So I want to talk about the room real quick. Was that just a blank room you had available, or is that something you kind of had to build from scratch?
My wife and I purchased her grandmother's house, and this room was originally an add-on as like a craft room. So it's not terribly big. I'd say it's about, maybe 10 by 8 with a cutout for a door. Legally, it qualifies as a room. So, small house, 5 rooms. There you go. So we said, you know what? I have a spare room. Let's just go record some stuff in there. And then as we've grown, we've gotten actual microphones and things. But a little secret for your listeners, while we are the roundtable chat-out, we do sit at a square table.
Oh my gosh. Breaking news, people. They don't have a round table.
We interrupt this podcast for some breaking news. Earlier today on As The Pokéball Turns, John, aka OleJonnyOneBall, has admitted that the roundtable chat-out does not have a round table. A candlelit vigil is currently being held across the world in remembrance of the round table that never came to be. We return you now to your regular scheduled programming.
And the best part about the table is that it was free, and that's why we have it.
Even better, FREA, free.
That's right. It's my favorite color that things come in is free.
So I got something for you. So my old supervisor, she would say, it's free 99.
Hey, mine was free 99, getting that table over here.
So as y'all were planning the podcast, were there any kind of names that came to mind?
We had a backup name based on the fact that while we're using a Pokemon name, we weren't sure if we were going to get dinged for that. So the backup name is actually Heavy Balls.
Really?
Yes. We were trying to find puns because that's how we speak to each other. Nothing really stuck. We were like, hanging out, we're just chatting, chat. Oh, chat tot. Yo, that's something. And then I was like, yo, we just sit around the table and chat. So it's just end up being roundtable chatot. And depending on where you see it, the OT and chatot might be split or whatever, but it's just devolved into it is the roundtable chatot or the RTC.
So you have a slogan, and I wanted to ask you this. You have a slogan known as your mom's favorite podcast. Where did that originate from? Because it's so creative and it's so catchy.
So, it comes from all sorts of times in life, where your mom jokes were great. I don't have many regrets in life, but realizing so early in the game I could have been your mom as my avatar name. And so it just stuck. And my parents are super supportive. They love listening to the show, and clearly they know me well, but they know JT as well. We've been around each other now for almost 10 years, and we were the best men in each other's weddings. We are well intertwined with JT and his family. So it's like making a your mom joke to a sibling. Those are the best. And JT is as close as a sibling. We tell people we're twins, and then
Y'all look so related, I can't tell the difference.
and then people find out we're not. But it's not one of those things where you can just be like, no, you're not, because you can't just tell people that. We're close, and your mom jokes are always low-hanging fruit, if you will, that you can grab. And so I was like, haha, this is your mom's favorite podcast. And now that's part of the intro to our show every week.
Next thing I want to talk about is y'all guys actually have a Discord for y'all's podcast. So was that something that y'all initially wanted to do, or like what made y'all want to create a Discord?
We knew that it was part of building a community. And so we figured that we need to have a way to communicate outside of, hopefully people can find us online and reach out to us. It's definitely a growing Discord. And the best part is that it's free.
Hey, free 99, you can't beat that.
That's right. The free 99 Discord channel. That's right. We wanted to have that community. We have also had experiences with other Discord communities that were not edifying and building each other up. It was, why would you post that? You're not supposed to, and that kind of stuff. And we just wanted to say, hey, here are the rules. Be clean, be courteous, and you'll have to talk to us if you're not. We wanted to have a place where anybody would be welcome. That's another part of our show, is that everybody's got a seat at the round table. We wanted to make sure that not just that we were saying it, but we wanted to actually be about it and built other people up and celebrated each other's victories and things like that. And that's what we have.
Now you got to give me the inside scoop, Johnny. Have y'all had to drop the ban hammer on anybody yet?
We have not. People get in there and want to be a part of the community and really celebrating other people because it's just a game we all love. And in the end, it's still just a game.
And that's part of building each other up, because you don't know where people started with Pokemon Go, especially with how little information Niantic gives enough as it is.
With Pokemon being a worldwide IP, there are so many people in the world that you could just show a photo of Pikachu and people would say, yeah, that's Pikachu, because it's so pervasive in community around the world. It was a simple way, download a game, play, and it really has taken off and built the communities. It really shows that it's not just individuals joining a group.
So for listeners listening to this episode right now, if they wanted to start a podcast, what would you tell them?
Just like Nike, just do it. The things that you will need as you grow your podcast, they will fall into place. There are a lot of resources out there that will help you pick a microphone, pick a platform that you want to use. It depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it, but there's always a way for what you want to do and how you want to do it. Make sure that the content that you're doing is interesting to you. No matter what you're doing or what you're talking about or what your shows are about, there is an audience. So don't go into doing a podcast just to, I'm going to do a cool show that all of the people will listen to because everyone likes chicken nuggets. Well, sure, but are you passionate about chicken nuggets? If you're not going to have a good time.
I do have one last question before we end this little taco stand. With everything you've done since day one in Pokemon Go, from 2016 to everything now, in your opinion, what's been your biggest accomplishment when it comes to Pokemon Go?
I think being able to meet people that I wouldn't have never met otherwise. While a lot of Pokemon Go players also play the main series and the trading card games and things like that, Pokemon Go is extensive in its reach. And whether it's someone who is just now starting or someone who's been around the whole time, whether you're a content creator or just a fan of Pokemon and people want to talk about it, I think that's probably the number one thing as far as accomplishments go. and being able to sort of build the Roundtable Chatot to where it is today, and it being a viable show for people that want to listen to it, and it being a springboard into us meeting people and being able to meet the guys from Pokemon Go Radio that really are the two that got us into this.
Very cool. And I'm glad you brought up the Pokemon Go radio because it reminded me of something I wanted to say to you. I know that the Pokemon Go radio, it's finished, but in my opinion, y'all's podcast kind of took up the mantle to kind of continue its legacy because you drew so much inspiration from it. I know y'all aren't Pokemon Go radio, obviously y'all are your own thing, but I just get those kind of vibes how when Pokemon Go's radio time just was over, y'all popped up, and I feel like y'all are kind of continuing legacy of it.
Thank you. We didn't mean to try to fill that hole. It just so happened to be that they were transitioning out of Pokemon and being two guys that we looked up to for so long and like, hey, I think we could do this. We think we're funny, and just jumping in. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And thank you for coming on to the show. Before you do go, how can people find your show? Like how people can contact you? Like plug away.
Yeah, so we've got a good number of different ways that you can reach us. You can reach us on Twitter at RTChatot. You can find us on our website, roundtablechatot.com. There you can email us from the homepage, or you can email us at rtchatot@gmail.com. We often use these channels for our mail call series, where we post questions to you and you post questions to us, and then we get to talk about them. We've got a couple more things every week and get the beautiful, beautiful voices of John and JT out to the people. But that is where you can find us.
Thank you for listening to As the Pokeball Turns, where every trainer has a story. If this episode resonated with you, share this episode with a fellow trainer and follow the podcast for more voices, more journeys, and more memories. I'm David Hernandez, and remember, your next Pokemon adventure begins here.